Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
And this is Rich Mancuso. This is Keep It in the Ring for Thursday, August 8th, 2024. Welcome in, everyone. Keep It in the Ring, your source for combat sports, the boxing, the pro wrestling, some MMA talk. And this week we have a lot of the boxing and the pro wrestling talk. It was a long weekend. And you know what I'm talking about. Big fight card. Kings and Princes come to the USA for the first time in Los Angeles. Put on a spectacular card of pay-per-view boxing. If you saw that on the Zone, payperview.com. And Summerslam on Peacock and WWE. Hot. A lot of news about that. So we'll get to it. My social media is scrolled at the bottom of the screen as always. Thanks for your continued support. X, formerly Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Other platforms, read my content on Stream Punk Entertainment. Also, Latinosports.com and NewYorkSportsDay.com, among others. As well as also looking at the fight calendar scrolled at the bottom of your screen. Like, comment, and subscribe, folks, to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. Pick that notification button, as well as Jabronis United, and, of course, Spring Punk Entertainment. Again, my producer, Scott Kirsten in the background. Bring him in later for the fact of the week. I'm going solo again this week without a guest because there's just too much to talk about. So let's get to it, because we're going to start with Terrance Crawford, the 4-division champion now. Is Canelo Alvarez next on his agenda? The big night in Los Angeles, the Kings and Princes of Saudi Arabia. And there's so much more after that, including Canelo Alvarez. What a week of news. Let's get to Terrance Crawford, the 4-time champ now. At 154, went up in weight at the Briaro Stadium in L.A. that sold out, supposedly. Madronov to the body. He went there for a few rounds. Then the straight rights. And then he landed. 7th round, Crawford was swelled in the right eye. 36-year-old Terrance Crawford, you could question, is he good at 154? Well, and he ended up with power stat, the punch stats that you'll see, 158 more punches, 21 more jabs for Crawford. More punches, of course, 7 of 12 rounds. And the judges' scorecards told the story with the usual controversy of the 3 blind mice. 115, 113 twice for Crawford, which I can accept, and many do. 116, 112, though, questioned by many, and also by the promoter, Eddie Hearn of Matchroom, who put this all together with the Kings and Princes. Now, in the end, Eddie Hearn was very vocal about that scorecard. Thought Madronov may have got the win, but obviously he didn't. But a gusty performance by this fighter who gave Terrance Crawford a real good fight. In fact, we all thought Terrance Crawford would come in here and not look like the superior welterweight at 147 that at one time unified those titles a year ago or so against Earl Spence Jr. We didn't see the Terrance Crawford we've been accustomed to in many ways. Yet again, we did. Now, argue with the scorecards a little bit. Some even had it wider for Crawford, and some even had Madronov even much closer. Though, again, the 115-113 twice on 2 judges was acceptable, and I thought that way many others did. Regardless of whether everything went the way it went, you have to ask now, where does Terrance Crawford go from here? Well, maybe not Sebastian Fundora, who's the other champion at 154, the Towering Inferno, the Mexican-American, which would be an interesting matchup. But the talk keeps coming up about Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing, who many consider the top pound-per-pound fighter in the sport. Crawford may be the top one, or the two of them, 1-2, vice versa. They're talking about Canelo Alvarez and Terrance Crawford. It's been very strong talk for the last month. There's a big buzz about it in boxing and on social media. But Canelo Alvarez has said, if the money is right, we got to fight. But Canelo has more focus right now on a fight coming up next month. We'll talk in a moment about with Edgar Berlanga. But the kings and princes of Saudi Arabia want Terrance Crawford. They see this lucrative free agent of the sport, who, much like Canelo Alvarez, can call his own shots right now, though he's working more with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. They see Terrance Crawford as the guy that draws. Now, look, the kings and princes, they draw wherever their fight cards are, out of Saudi Arabia and here in the States for the first time in Los Angeles. But they know Terrance Crawford is a marquee name. They also know that Terrance Crawford has that great following and can make lots of money. Terrance Crawford knows he can make lots of money with them. So can Canelo Alvarez. But the kings and princes keep calling that they want Terrance Crawford in Saudi Arabia. But to that, Canelo Alvarez said, I don't need them. They want it to work. It'll be on my terms. In other words, Canelo Alvarez met with the kings and princes in Los Angeles. I call them the kings and princes. You know, that's just a jab at them. They have names, and besides my hard time, and this is no disrespect, pronouncing their names, but I call them kings and princes of Saudi Arabia because they got a lot of money. That's it. And they are right now commandeering the sport. They have taken over. They got the money. They make the fights, and they put on the fights because the promoters know they can get in there with all the money they have in front of them. Canelo met with them. You know the story. If you're a boxing aficionado and follow, you know what's gone on. But Canelo felt he's been disrespected because now he says, I don't need them because of the money. If the money isn't right, he's always said this, even against trying to fight David Benavidez. If the money's not there for Canelo Alvarez, he's not going to do it. And so the kings and princes feel they were disrespected. Now they're bear-mouthing Canelo Alvarez. They feel they don't need him, but they still want Terrance Crawford. So what does Canelo Alvarez want? $500 million to fight Terrance Crawford? I mean, that would be extraordinary numbers. It's ludicrous, but it's very possible. The kings and princes of Saudi Arabia could put that fight together, and that's a fight boxing wants. That's a fight the fans want to determine overall who would be the superior fighter, who would be definitely the best pound for pound. But more so, you got to question again, is Terrance Crawford capable of going to fight, of fighting 160 at 168 to take those titles that Canelo Alvarez still will still have them at 168, a super middleweight. We don't know where this stands except for this. Canelo Alvarez again said, if the money is right at 168, maybe he'll fight Terrance Crawford. But he also said that Terrance Crawford could be a win for him because he said Crawford moves a lot, and he noticed he didn't move against Madronov. And that's true. Good observation. Canelo Alvarez knows the sport. He knows his opponents. He knows what's facing him, what's ahead of him. Regardless, this is very interesting because Crawford Canelo, again, number 1, 2 pound for pound in boxing, has the face as the best pound for pound. In the meantime, the boxing world turned out in what was a very grand night before Crawford became the main event that night. Except security, everyone in boxing was out there in LA but me. Every champion, former champion, fighters are looking to make fights themselves. In fact, there were a few melees, if you saw on social media. Security had to restrain Shakur Stevenson, who's still a free agent and not with Matchroom as of yet, and Lomachenko. Two of them, there's been a lot of buzz and talk about them fighting. And, of course, Lomachenko has said he'll step aside the rest of the year because he would give Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson, a marquee fight, a chance before him. But there were a lot of words, a lot of pushing and shoving, and Gervonta Davis, as far as I know, wasn't seen. But you had the whole boxing world in there, and I got to say congratulations to the Kings and Princes and Eddie Hearn who put on a spectacular show. And Julio Cesar Chavez, a legend and the icon of Mexico, he said this about Terrance Crawford. He walked out of the fight. He said this. I think, Scott, do we have the image of him walking out? I don't know if we have that, but he said Terrance Crawford against Canelo would be a bullshit fight. When is Crawford ever going to beat Canelo? That, the comment from the legend, Julio Cesar Chavez. He questioned if that fight would happen, and he questioned Terrance Crawford's ability, if it did happen, to defeat Canelo Alvarez. Interesting. When you hear that from that legend, Julio Chavez, you got to listen. You have to listen. Again, the card in Los Angeles, spectacular. If you ordered the pay-per-view, you got your money's worth. If you were there, and I wasn't again, unfortunately, you had a boxing night that will be remembered. Because you don't see this type of card often in the sport. Promoters coming together, more than one championship fight, heavyweights on display, and this young man, Jose Valenzuela, he dethroned Isaac Pitbull Cruz, 12-round split decision. Now, Cruz, who took that title from Rolly Romero, he pressed the action, but Valenzuela outboxed him from the outside, and as a result became the new champion at 140, WBA champ, the division that is the hottest one in the sport. Valenzuela punched that shoulder story. Cruz only landed 23% of his total punches, 27 by power, the power shots. Valenzuela, double digits landed in punches, 11 of the 12 rounds. So Cruz scorecards were 115-112, 115-113, 116-112 twice, which I had 116-112. Isaac Pitbull Cruz is not done because he lost his title. He defended it one time. He's still a player in this division, and he's asked for the rematch. Will there be a reason for Cruz and Valenzuela to have a rematch when you have so many other viable names and contenders in this division at 140? Possibly with Teofimo Lopez holding a part of those titles, or even Devin Haney, who's going to make his comeback after a loss that now is not a loss to Ryan Garcia. Could it be Gervonta Davis or even Shakur Stevenson, all vying for those titles at 140 to unify a division that, my friends in boxing, you know, unity is so important but doesn't happen. But to put those titles all around one of these talented young fighters in that division at 140 would make the sport that much better and supreme. And you know that's going to be difficult to do, but maybe easy to do because the kings and princes of Saudi Arabia and Eddie Hearn of Matchroom and even Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya, they want to do this. They want unity. They want fans to see the fights. But that young man, Jose Valenzuela, he put his prints, as you say, his footprints into the whole title mix at 140. Well-deserved championship. Good man, good young man, good fighter, and a lot more to come for him as he was showcased in Los Angeles on this supercard of boxing brought to you by the Kings and Princes of Saudi Arabia and Eddie Hearn. Also, the heavyweights on display Saturday night. Got to look at the rising young Jared Anderson, who had a setback. He was stopped at 2 minutes, 7 seconds of the fifth round. The referee stopped the fight. The power of this guy that we now know, Bacoli, in the heavyweight division, now in the mix. Strong, powerful. Jared Anderson met his match, never had that before in his young career. Is this the end of Jared Anderson and his quest to become the first heavyweight championship for the United States in a long time? Absolutely not. He's promoted by Top Rank and Bob Arum. He's on ESPN. He'll be back. He's going to need to rebound. But Bacoli now is in the heavyweight title mix after this win. We didn't know much about him. We do now. Powerful, strong, and Jared Anderson felt it. And then the other heavyweight fight that could have went either way and had implications. Winner goes home, stays maybe, loser goes home. Well, neither one of them may now go home because Andy Ruiz and Jared Baby Miller out of Brooklyn, New York, it's a 12-round draw. Now, the punch stats show that Ruiz outlanded Miller 47-40 in the first 4 rounds. And then Miller outlanded 143-66 from the 5th round on. Now, for Andy Ruiz, 2 years out of the ring, it showed because he lost some steam as you're going later into the fight. The ring rush showed. He even admitted to that. But 116, 112 for Miller, sometimes that has to be questioned on the scorecard. 2 judges on it scored it 114, 114. You know what? I had it 114, 114 also. I saw this as a draw. Winner would have went home. Winner would have stayed. Loser would have went home. Now, both of them are still around. Because it definitely could be a rematch here because you got to decide who goes where in this heavyweight division that's starting to get more interesting, trying to get a shot at either Usyk or Fury, who have their rematch in the end of December in Saudi Arabia. So another good heavyweight fight. It was pretty respectable. And then we got this, and we got good ones here. David Morrell, unanimous 12-round decision. Outlanding Kovacevic and punches 134-102. The judges had it 118, 110, 117 to 111 twice. The light heavyweight WBA title, he gets the some international version of it. It was effective. He punches well, Morrell, and he could get the winner of Bivol and Berdaviv coming up on October 12th to unify those titles of light heavyweight, or David Benavidez, who wants a shot at those titles at 175 because he's not getting Canelo Alvarez at the moment. David Morrell, very exciting young fighter, another great one in the sport, young superstar, and Olympic gold medalist Andy Cruz with 4 pro fights. Had a great amateur career. That's why he's only turned pro late. 4-0 now. He's in a lightweight mix with his win. 7th-round KO over Antonio Moran, who was 37-1 with 21 knockouts. He handled him. So he becomes the IBF WBA Continental Latin American title holder. Alphabet soup, as I say, another title that's meaningless, but gets Andy Cruz more now up in the rankings and maybe in that lightweight title mix, even though he only has 4 professional fights, all by win. His jabs well, he punches well, and he's got a shot at something. And he was on display on a great card of boxing. No doubt, Fight Card of the Year it was, brought to you by the Kings and Princes of Saudi Arabia and Eddie Hearn Matchroom. Excellent, and the Excellency Turk, who is referred to. You hear when they call him in the council, when they introduce him in the ring or at the press conferences. The Excellency Turk, though, is also now being honored by the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame for passing a vision and innovation that makes fights for the sport and for the fans. And he wants Crawford to fight. He wants him to fight Canelo because Canelo's turning this all down. Well, Canelo Alvarez does what he wants, and really, do we care? Because he can do what he wants, and he's the face of the sport. There's no doubt about it. When a fighter like Canelo Alvarez can call his own shots and has the record to back him up and the legacy he keeps building, is able to call his own shots, his own promoter works with other promoters, then you have to say, besides him being a great fighter, Canelo Alvarez is, his skills have not been diminished, then you have to say that he is the face of the sport. So, Canelo Alvarez has got his attention now with Edgar Berlanga. And the mandatory Berlanga for the titles, according to the WBA. Politics and boxing, alphabet soup again. The two-city press tour began in New York on Monday, continued in L.A., Los Angeles the day after. And this is for Canelo's 168-pound, no longer unified titles because the IBF took that title away from Canelo, but for all the other alphabet soup belts, it's Canelo and Edgar Berlanga, the Brooklyn, Puerto Rican native. T-Mobile Arena, September 14th, Amazon pay-per-view, and the Zone pay-per-view and pay-per-view.com. So Edgar Berlanga has his challenge. This, the young man who 16-0, started off with 16 impressive knockouts, was going for a record in boxing history. That did not continue on the Top Rank. Made a lot of money with Top Rank. Not as much you could make that with this fight against Canelo Alvarez coming up on September 14th in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. So he goes to Eddie Hearn because he knows Eddie Hearn had a way to get him Canelo Alvarez, and now he's got him. So Edgar Berlanga on Monday and Canelo had respect for each other. Will Berlanga said he's not going to run from him. It's his opportunity, and he finally has it. And many say he shouldn't get this opportunity, that he's going to get demolished by Edgar Berlanga, by Canelo Alvarez. And Berlanga says, screw the haters. I got what I came for, and I'm going to win. But many say that Berlanga doesn't deserve this opportunity, that it's boxing politics that got him there, and that Canelo Alvarez will annihilate him. Well, I kind of frankly think that it might be a competitive fight. I don't think Berlanga will win it. But more on that as we get closer to that fight. So they complimented each other in New York, but it got very nasty and ugly in Los Angeles the day after. Canelo says he loves this, and this is history, as it is. It's a continuation of Mexico against Puerto Rico in the historic sport. In that rivalry, Mexico-Puerto Rico. Berlanga said Canelo's always been on his mind ever since he started boxing. He started when he was 7 years of age, a little later on, of course. But he's always had Canelo on his mind. Said he, again, screw the haters, and also said, screw David Benavidez. He doesn't want to hear about it. It's not Canelo Benavidez, he says, and he's right about this. It's Canelo against Edgar Berlanga. Benavidez is on the outside waiting in. If he wins his next fight, and if everything works out and 175 works out to unify, then Benavidez stays there. If not, there's always a lot of money on the table that could happen, Canelo and David Benavidez. But Edgar Berlanga does not want to hear about the name Benavidez and Canelo, and I don't blame him. And so it got nasty on Wednesday. Canelo, who's the face, who runs the sport, also says he doesn't need the kings and princes. But they got into each other. There was a little maybe pushing and shoving on Wednesday, Canelo and Berlanga, hyping up the fight some more. But I found it interesting, though, how the complexion of this changed in a matter of 24 hours, going cross-country from New York to L.A. What was said, was this all a put-on to hype up a fight that really doesn't need any hype? Because Canelo Alvarez, though his pay-per-view numbers have been down a bit, doesn't need any hype. He's Canelo Alvarez. The guy that might need the attention more is Edgar Berlanga, because he has a lot of haters. He admits to saying that, and he does. But the fight really doesn't need no hype again, because it's Edgar Berlanga, who deserves the opportunity to many, and many say he doesn't. There are others in that division that deserve a shot, including Salih Plant, maybe. He already lost to Canelo, though. What do you think? I want your comments. Like, comment, and subscribe. YouTube channel, me, Rich Mancuso, Spring Punk Entertainment, Jabronis United. What do you think? Let me know what you think. Does Edgar Berlanga deserve to be in there with Canelo Alvarez And what do you think will happen on September 15th? Interesting fight. And more interesting because the legacy of Canelo Alvarez can continue. And then the questions about him and Terrance Crawford will continue. And the questions about Canelo Alvarez and possibly David Benavidez will continue. I'd like to hear your thoughts, folks. The undercard on that card will be good as well. Let's put that image up, Scott, because you're going to have a great undercard again. This is another good card of boxing that we've seen on Amazon and payperview.com and the Zone. Danny Garcia, one of my favorites, two-time welterweight champ, 2-year layoff coming back to Philadelphia. He's at was at 147, great fighter. Now he's moving up to middleweight. He says that's what he wants. He was carrying extra weight going in as a welterweight anyway, but he's got a tough fight. He's opposing WBA middleweight champion Asari Landa, and Garcia hasn't been in the ring in 2 years. So at middleweight, though, one question, can he handle that? The other thing is it being out of the ring 2 years, jumping from 147 to not even 154 to a middleweight to fight the champion trying to throw him. You got to wonder. But that's a good fight either way you look at it. And that's on the undercard. And the Lee Plant is on the card as well. The guy that had words with Berlanga at the press conference Tuesday in L.A., Trevor McCumbee, WBA interim super middleweight title. That's up for grabs. And Rolando Romero, Raleigh, who lost the title to Isaac Cruz. Cruz loses to Vallanammer. He's back in the ring that night. He's got Emmanuel James, super lightweight fight, 10 rounds to see if Romero can get back into the title mix at 140. And then we have the former unified 122-pound champ Stephen Fulton Jr., 10-rounder. So good card overall. And looking forward to Berlanga and Canelo Alvarez, September 15th, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada, on pay-per-view. And we'll be more about that. We'll talk more about that is at September 14th, not 15th, here on the program and Keep It in the Ring. We'll analyze it. I want to try and get one of those fighters on this program. And booking guests on this program get difficult. Fighters are very hard to book. They're training wherever they are. We'll try. Of course, Ryan Garcia is not as much is in the news. He always is. Of course, I got to put this up. Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Ryan, now 26 years of age. He advertised that all over social media. Keeps talking about the Lord Jesus Christ. That's his savior. Keeps talking about saving the world, conspiracy theories, except these latest tweets are really crazy. He says, I'm sober, and he talked about Terrance Crawford. Said Terrance Crawford is a bitch, and he questioned the decision. Why did he get the win? Well, he's wrong about that. Crawford won the fight. Being sober, we never know about that. Everything else he says, we don't know about that. We still know this. He's not in rehab, and that's where he belongs. Enough for him this week. But again, Ryan Garcia needs to be talked about because he's on social media constantly 24/7. Victor Ortiz Jr. this weekend. Virgil Ortiz Jr., 154, making his Golden Boy debut Saturday night on the Zone against Shahari Barakachuk. And that's a major fight of the coming weekend on Saturday night. Let's see where Virgil Ortiz Jr. goes, a talented fighter who's had some setbacks with Golden Boy now 154, where he's going to stand in that division. And this man, always in the back, always see him there, Xander Zayas, back in New York again at Madison Square Garden, Top Rank ESPN. Undefeated, Xander Zayas. The young superstar in the sport, destined to be a champion soon, against Damon Sosa. Friday, September 27th, Theater, Madison Square Garden, Top Rank ESPN. And on that same card, Sandy Ryan defends WBO welterweight title against Michaela Meyer. Good female fight, plus a good undercard. Shushu Carrington will be on there as well. More on that in the weeks to come. Two-time champ Regis Prograis. The fight with Jay Cantrell was canceled because of an injury to Cantrell at 140. Fight's been rescheduled. Want to see this? I was looking forward to it. It's going to be now October 26th in Manchester on the Zone. This is canceled after the August 24th Cantrell injury. And let's look at the Olympic picture. You know, the USA Olympic boxing team has become a disgrace. I was proudly a part of all this in 1984 and a few years later. You know, even though the United States has won medals in Paris this last 2 weeks and done very well, they're leading the medal count and got their number of gold. The USA boxing team is omniscient. We don't even know where they are. You couldn't watch them. You didn't know where they were. If you were a boxing fan wanted to watch Olympic boxing, when could you see it? Couldn't find it on Peacock. Couldn't find it on NBC, USA, or wherever they were showing this constant coverage. And the USA boxing team has become irrelevant. Again, they will not have a gold medal winner. All right, they haven't had one since Andre Ward in 2004 in Athens. The only medal they got was a bronze. The U.S. team, that's a disgrace. Because Olympic boxing is not the same. It's corrupt, especially with the USA Olympic boxing team and the whole compound and everything that goes on with it. And we have not seen a gold medal winner in Olympic boxing for the USA since 2004. And that goes to show you where they are. And they're talking about getting rid of boxing in the next Olympics in L.A. again in 4 years. It's disgraceful, a failure. Amari Jones had some hope for the USA, but he lost a split decision in Paris, denying Team USA again gold. And Andre Ward, the last Olympic gold medal winner, commented about that. He said, "What's gone on? It's a disgrace." It is. I want your thoughts on that. Because for years, you know how many champions came out of the USA boxing team in the Olympics. And the Ukraine, again, were champions. And they've had them with Lomachenko, right? And even Usyk, the current heavyweight champion out of the Olympics in the Summer Games. And they became gold medal winners and champions. But the USA, not so much by Andre Ward in 2004. If we could go back to 1984 when the last great USA Olympic boxing team existed, where there was gold all over. There was the medals, gold, bronze, and silver. And fighters, as I've talked to you the last few weeks, that became prominent in the sport. Champions. But we'll never see that again, and that's a travesty. All right, quick UFC note. May Holiday rise to reclaim the featherweight title. October, it's going to be in October versus Topuria. That would be a UFC 308 in Dubai, and that's October 26th. More UFC news is coming in. We'll get it to you next week. I'm even try to line up guests on that end as well. All right. First thing I'm going to do before we go to break is I think we're going to do this first. We don't have a guest this week, and there's a lot of pro wrestling news to recap. This is Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso, live on my YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. Jabronis United, Stream Punk Entertainment, and my social media handles at the bottom of the screen, including X, Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Let me bring in Scott Cherson, my great producer who helps me put this together every week, and do the fact of the week now. And then we'll go to break and then get to the wrestling. Scott, you ready?
Yes, sir. Let's roll.
Give a shot. You haven't been able to get them. You come close, but
hey, I got the last one.
Yeah, you did. My memory's faded. All right,
that's okay. Well, maybe I'm just lying in. Basically, I'm just tricking you here.
No, it's probably me. I'm getting older, and my memory's going. Everyone knows. All right, it's controversy in boxing, which I've been talking about, and it's because Eddie Hearn questioned that Madronov 116-112 scorecard. Boxing's subjective. We know that. If you don't knock the guy out, it goes to the judges. You don't know what's going to happen with three blind mice in ringside, right, Scott?
Yes, sir.
So there was a major controversial fight, and this happened in 1993 for the WBC welterweight title, and in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. And it was very controversial. One guy in that ring was Pernell Whitaker, who won gold at the Olympics in 1984 for the USA. Okay? And one guy is a boxing legend. He faced controversial decision in 1993. September 1993, for the WBC welterweight title. Again, this is fact. It's not trivia, but it is a fact. Who was the other guy? Pernell Whitaker was the opponent. You put up the answer with his image, you son of a gun. Yeah, it was.
If you heard me laughing, that's why. It's like I got the image right in front of me. I'll throw it up there.
Yeah, and please be honest with me. You didn't look it up, right?
No, sir. Actually, I did know that one because
good for you. I should never question your knowledge of boxing and knowing the history of the sport. You do know that, Scott. And you got it. Yeah. If you remember, that was a very controversial fight. I didn't cover it. I didn't cover that fight, but was on it back then heavily. Controversy reigned in this one because many said that Chavez won it. Some said Whitaker won it, and it got nasty back and forth. So you see, controversy has always been around the sport, and it's been around boxing even way before that, where you have these decisions that don't go the right way. But the judging in boxing then was even better than it is now. So it's gotten worse progressively and rapidly. And that fight, who knows what they were thinking then. But that's fact of the week this week. Thank you, Scott. Good job getting it. And on that note, now we'll take our brief time out. Come back. We'll do the pro wrestling, a lot of that. This is Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Thanks for staying with us. Back in a moment. Stay with us with the wrestling stuff to come.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. You can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Yeah, Pandemonium is coming up October 12th. Scott Churston and I will fill you in more and more about it in the weeks to come. And again, we're trying to line up some of the talent on that JC Knight ACW show in New Jersey at the Viper Center. Pandemonium, a lot of rematches, a lot of the old and still active ECW stars in pro wrestling. And we'll talk more about that. That's Pandemonium. That's why it's called Pandemonium. It's going to be. And it was Pandemonium this past weekend. If you watched the pay-per-view boxing card and Summerslam at the same time, well, that was Pandemonium, man. You're a warrior. As I said, jack of all trades, because I did it. It's hard to do that, but, look, in the combat sports industry, whether it's UFC, boxing, wrestling, whatever, they like to do this. The conflicts are constant. It's not fair to you or I. It's not fair at all, but, you got to catch it unless you want to watch it on replay or have two systems running at the same time, which I do. And I'm adapted to doing that because I'm an old-time journalist. Anyway, SummerSlam just kicked ass, didn't it? The WWE is on a high, and Roman Reigns, that entrance and that return, which is going to lead now to what we've been saying, his feud with Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline, and maybe get a shot again at Cody Rhodes, or does Cody Rhodes form the new Bloodline with Roman Reigns and company? And, that image of Roman Reigns telling Cody, you still got what I got, means they're going to go at it. I don't know if it'll be WrestleMania in April again, but in the meantime, the focus now is on the return of Roman Reigns and SmackDown tomorrow night on Fox. He's going to be there returning, and will Paul Heyman be by him? Beside, we haven't seen Heyman in over a month since Sikoa power bombed them all over the place. But expect that Paul Heyman will be back tomorrow night with Roman Reigns at SmackDown, and Roman Reigns is back, and the feud is going to be explosive with Sikoa and that part of the bloodline family. And the question is, who does Roman Reigns, who's he going to have with them? As far as SummerSlam, again, that part of it and Cody defeating Sikoa with a little bit of Roman's help, spectacular main event, the way to end it. I think the pre-show is a little too long that they do on Peacock. I think it's just too long of a show with the talk and the jib-jab and all that stuff. The matches, though, outstanding. They might go a little less in time length than they always did. There are less matches. That's better than what AEW does because they have much too much. And we'll talk about them in All In a moment. But SummerSlam, to me, this was the best one I've seen in all the years they've had it since its inception. And then we had the Rollins-Punk-McIntyre affair. Another good one. This feud continues, but now it's going to move more to CM Punk, as you know, and Seth Rollins. But though McIntyre still has the bracelet of CM Punk of his dog's name and his wife's name, AJ Lee, so that could end up being a three-way type of feud. Still, three of them. Regardless, this is another interesting storyline that continues with WWE and Triple H's creativity mind. And we saw it more on Monday Night Raw. And then also at SummerSlam, this one had everyone buzzing and still will and still does because it's going to become the story that leads maybe into WrestleMania. We're talking about Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, and Liv Morgan. Of course, Priest dethroned of his title because Finn Balor got involved. And we see Mommy, Rhea Ripley, and Damian Priest forming their new version of the Judgment Day. And Dominic and Liv Morgan, they are now madly in love. Rhea Ripley's pissed off. You saw Monday night, she went out and got her first part of her vengeance on her vengeance tour to take over this. Dirty Dom is more dirty than ever. Liv Morgan has become now his love interest. Damian Priest is going to seek to get the title back, but there may be more plans for him and better in WWE, maybe even a shot at one of the titles on Raw or SmackDown. Either way, very interesting theater that continues, great storyline, and a great part of why SummerSlam was spectacular, including Gunther and his match taking the title from Damian Priest. Good one. Of course, except until Finn Balor interfered. And there's Triple H. He always does this on social media. Congratulating a new champion who's very talented, well-versed, well fit together. Good champion. Might have his eyes next on the world, on the one of the championships. But now he's got the title. He's got the world heavyweight title up next for him. Maybe Damian Priest again. And my favorite becomes the women's champion, Nia Jax. On her return, it's been great. First queen of the ring, now women's champion. There she is. She dethrones Bayley. And Nia Jax is a fierce to be reckoned with, as we know. Congratulations, Nia Jax. Well deserved. And Jake Paul. Or Logan Paul, not Jake, his brother. And LA Knight. Triple H congratulating LA Knight, finally getting his title in WWE. Long time coming. Another good match on SummerSlam. Excellent. Well done, Triple H. Well done, WWE. As they move on now to their fall calendar. SummerSlam's over. You're going to look at going Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. And I got a couple of other things in between. You got to look at the calendar. However, it comes down to this. WWE continues to ride that high. Their ratings are very respectable. They're making an awful lot of money. They've gone international, and they're going to do more international PLEs, events on Peacock, as they venture into January and their new Raw adventure with Netflix. Making a lot of money. And they're doing it with the Attitude Era type of format. or the way of doing it to make it more interesting every week because they're going to Netflix. SmackDown's going to move, I think, to the CW. NXT, I think, is going, I don't know. There's so many changes. Or it's SmackDown going to USA. I don't know. But regardless, Netflix is the big one with the $1 billion deal. And it's showing on their product. And SummerSlam was one of the best. Congratulations, WWE. Keep up the good work under Triple H. And then on Monday Night Raw, you'll see more of the Wyatt Sticks. And this was great. The tribute to Brody, the late Brody, and Bray Wyatt. You couldn't do better than that. That was emotional when they watching that on Monday night. And now we know the Wyatt Six are. We see Loomis. Nikki Cross is in there, his sister Abigail or Abby. And Loomis, too. And, of course, Eric Rowan. Wyatt Six, that was very compelling. And that was very, very bone-chilling because you saw Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, in Bray Wyatt's rocking chair. And you saw the tribute afterwards when it was all over Monday night, going after Gable and his faction. Well done again. And this is going to continue, and the Wyatt Six are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And, of course, all a part of what Bray Wyatt wanted, what he envisioned as he continues to rest in peace. Great storylines, WWE continue, and I got to say, AEW storylines are interesting. Getting ready for All In on the 21st. Pay-per-view Wembley, going to be 80,000 people, so Tony Khan says. Despite all the setbacks, despite this and that, AEW's on that comeback trail a bit because they were negotiating a new media rights deal. Are they going to stay with the Turner Networks or be somewhere else on Time Warner or whatever? All In, they're getting ready for it and getting ready to see Ospreay, and MJF, the top heel in the business. Saw more of that again last night on Dynamite. Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson for the heavyweight title. Is this going to be Bryan Danielson's final appearance, final wrestling match? That one. In fact, last night you saw Danielson and Jeff Jarrett. That old man can still wrestle if you saw that. And also Dr. Baker, Britt Baker, and Mercedes as their feud intensifies leading up to All In for championship. There are a lot of good storylines going on, including All Elite and Elite, and that may be where Shane McMahon comes in because the rumor is not a rumor. Tony Khan and Shane McMahon met, whether it was planned or unexpected. We saw that last week. It's developing more. The talk is more that Shane McMahon could have some type of involvement with AEW, maybe become a part of Elite in Tony Khan's group or something else. But I'm going to tell you right now, folks, it's not a rumor. And that Shane McMahon is going to be a part of AEW. It's just a matter of time. When, how, but it's going to happen. Okay. And so that's it for the wrestling news this week, and we'll get more next week. But I'm telling you again, what a great weekend for SummerSlam, WWE, and the boxing that we had in Los Angeles with Matchroom and the Kings and Princes. All right, nostalgia time coming up, and we're going to wrap this all up. This is Keep It in the Ring with Rich Mancuso. One final break, Scott. We come back. We'll wrap it all up with that. Stay with me. Stay with us. This is Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Back in a moment.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
All right, I came on a little earlier, but I'm here now. Let's keep it in the ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe my YouTube channel. And also Jabrotis United, Stream Punk Entertainment. And hit that notification button. Know when we're on. All right, we wrap it up. Weekly nostalgia. Love to do it. We go back in the past. We look at August 7th, 1983. Hector Macho Camacho, the Hall of Famer, the late Hector Macho Camacho. Rafael Bazooka Lamone. Round 5 of 12, he wins the vacant WBC Super Featherweight title in San Juan, Puerto Rico, where he was a legend. Still well liked over there, and I know that because I did a lot of research working on a documentary about Hector Camacho and Puerto Rican fighters and the legends of Puerto Rican boxing. And that can continue again with Berlanga against Canelo in next month. So, you know about Hector Macho Camacho. His life ended unexpectedly. Sad story with a bullet. He was gunned down. And that's a whole story in itself. If you don't know it, look it up about the case and all that going on there. Still in Puerto Rico. Camacho was the flamboyant fighter, one of the first to come out with these flamboyant outfits and different types of styles. And the closing seconds of round 3 of that fight and twice in round 5, Camacho took control. And he won the title after he stopped Bobby Chacon of the title for that title. And in the coming years, we know what Hector Camacho did after that. Scott, he put that image up of Macho Camacho, and there it is. He's come out in these crazy outfits and styles, and there's plenty of info on that on the internet and even books. One that I was supposed to write that didn't transpire because of a member of his family I'm not going to mention. But that was him. And despite all the troubles out of the ring, Hector Macho Camacho, one of the top fighters in the sport of all time. And a great champion he was as well. So that's his fight there against Rafael Bazooka Lamone, who was also a great fighter in himself. And August 9th of that year, Sugar Ray Robinson dethroned, no, not August 9th. I don't know what the year it was. It wasn't August 9th of that year. But on August 9th, in his boxing history, Sugar Ray Robinson dethroned Charlie Fuson 15 rounds on points. Remember, boxing at one time had 15-round fights, not 12 for championships. He retained his welterweight title then, and that was at Roosevelt Stadium in Jersey City, New Jersey. My producer, Scott Church, knows all about that. He's from that area of New Jersey. So, they had great title fights there, great boxing shows at the old Roosevelt Stadium in Jersey City. Sugar Ray Robinson, Hall of Fame, a great legend, was there. Charlie Fuson, 12 rounds. He wins it on 15 rounds on points. And the last fight for him at 147 for the great Sugar Ray Robinson, he will improve then to 110, 1-2, the 5th defense of his title. He had that world middleweight title 5 times and fought quite often. You know that by the record. Back then, fighters fought an awful lot. They'd be in the ring every 2 weeks, not once a year or twice a year. 110, 1-2 was his record. Middleweight title 5 times. That's why Sugar Ray Robinson was considered one of the all-time greats of the sport and will always be remembered in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Nostalgia for the week. We put that to bed. We put the show to bed. Very action-packed hour without a guest. Of course, again, a great job by the Kings and Princes of Saudi Arabia and Eddie Hearn of Matchroom. More to come. That's not going to be their first show in the United States. They're going to do more. And that was very successful. And will Terrance Crawford fight Canelo Alvarez to determine who is indeed the face of the sport and top pound for pound? To be determined. As we put our focus on the fall boxing calendar coming up, and there's going to be a lot of that in the weeks to come, but we also talk about this fight coming up next month with Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga. My thanks to Scott Kirsten. Great job, as always, behind the scenes. He puts up with me every week, puts up with me every day. to put this together. Thanks to you for your continued support and watching the program. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, and hit the notification button. Would appreciate that. Also, Jabertis United and String Punk Entertainment. Ring 786X, my social media, and it used to be Twitter, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Again, my content could be read, LatinoSports.com. Also, String Punk Entertainment, and also NewYorkSportsDay.com, among the many outlets I write for. We'll see you again next week, probably live again, 8 p.m. Thursday night, and we'll get you always to keep it in the ring. Until then, stay well, God bless, be good to each other. I'm Rich Mancuso. This is Keep It in the Ring. As always, thank you.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's